Hey guys, it's Rich with your Monday Spot on the Pagan Perspective. This week we're talking about coping with these times. I do want to say before I go on, please excuse the lighting issues. I'm trying to figure out how best, maybe that right there. I am currently in Dover, Delaware. I'm doing my annual tour for the military, so I just got into the hotel, or just got down here and into the hotel today, and haven't gotten my lighting equipment out of the truck because it is so freakishly hot. So yes, for this time, please excuse the lighting, and let's get into this week's topic. Like I said, this week's topic is coping with these times. This is a Pagan Perspective team member topic, and it states, in a world without a pandemic, many people would be going back to school around this time, both students and teachers. Some may be going back to school physically, others online, and any option provides its own stresses and new challenges at this time. Do you have any strategies or specific spiritual practices that you could share for coping with feelings of isolation and loneliness? What about for stress in general, or more specific to our current circumstances? Okay, so let's break this down. Do I have any strategies or specific spiritual practices that I can share for coping with feelings of isolation and loneliness? I really don't get lonely, and that's mainly because I am an introvert. Whenever I heard of the mandatory quarantine in New Jersey, which was March 23rd, I think, somewhere around, about that time frame, pretty much whenever everybody else was going on full-on lockdown. Whenever I heard that, I'm like, oh, you're going to tell me I have to stay in my house and I can't go anywhere or interact with people? And then whenever my job also said that they were going to pay me to do that, I said, yes, please. Because anytime that I can, be in my house on my own without having to interact with people physically, yes, absolutely. Anytime, any day of the week, I'll do that. So as far as loneliness, I don't get lonely. I need to stay away from people a lot because being around people just drains me a lot. So I do try to really carve out those times whenever it's just me and my thoughts, my own inner workings of my brain thing. So yes, as far as feelings of isolation and loneliness, I actually seek those out because I feel comfort in that. Being isolated from people or events and whatnot actually helps me a lot mentally and within my own self, within my own feelings of anxiety and whatnot. That actually helps a lot. So any specific spiritual practices for combating that? If you are a person that is feeling lonely or is feeling that sense of isolation where, oh my gosh, I have just stared at the same four walls in my house or my apartment or hotel room for the past 3-4 months, and I am feeling so isolated and lonely and whatnot, there are a plethora of things that you can do. It's not the same as being physically interacting with people. However, you do now in this day and age have Zoom calls, you have FaceTime, you have texting, you have the good old phone call, you have emails and social media galore. That stuff still exists. And even though you are not physically there, and I know it's not the same thing, you can still connect with people in a meaningful manner without actually physically being there. And hopefully that will help get your your energy's raising up, because I know some people feed off of that interaction with individuals. So not me so much, but take the steps with regards to modern technology and ways that you can use that in order to help you feel not so isolated and alone. So as far as spiritual practices go, I know that if you are covened, then you may not have been able to be part of a ritual space in a coven and whatnot for quite some time, and I know that can be a major thing. I wouldn't really be able to relate to that because I've never been in a coven. However, if you are longing for those times, do remember that you can still do a ritual with other people while apart. Again, Zoom calls and FaceTimes and Facebook groups and whatnot, those are still very powerful situations. Granted, not the same as being there in person, but I've actually had wonderful rituals and meditation sessions within a virtual coven that I was part of. I've never actually been part of a physical coven, but a virtual coven, yes. And being part of that virtual coven, we actually had a ritual, and sorry for the noise again, hotel. But in those virtual rituals, we would actually have like a meditation or a, what is it, the one time, sorry. One time we did one that was, I think it was how to work with your psychic abilities to manifest things and, try to move things with your mind, your telekinesis and whatnot. And while it didn't really work as much for me, the meditation in and of itself was very relaxing, very beneficial. And yeah, I did enjoy it. Again, probably not the same as being in an actual coven setting, but could help you. What about for stress in general, or more specific to our current circumstances? Stress in general, keep yourself busy. I know that there are people out there that love crafting, and this is the time whenever they've actually gotten to do some of their crafting that they have put on the back burner for quite a while. Like I've said in past videos, I have been cleaning my house, getting my house in order. I finally have gone through boxes and found things and connected with items that I have not seen in years, and I'm absolutely loving that. I have now cleaned, I think, just about every spot in my house as far as getting it somewhat organized. I have one room left, and it's going to take a very long time. It's going to be a process because that's where I'm actually storing a lot of the items for eBay and to sell and whatnot. So instead of having the extra expense of a storage unit, I have things in that one room, and that will eventually be a guest room whenever I get that room emptied out. Now, I do have boxes of things that still need to be unpacked, but I've still gone through those boxes. I've still connected with those items and been like, I do want you, but I have nowhere to put you right this minute. And whenever I find a place to put you and I grab you out of that box again, I will put you there. But right now, you're going to just have to wait. So anyway, getting back to the actual point is I have had so much enjoyment going through the things that I have. Maybe eventually might do the Kanamari method. I don't know if I'm brave enough for that. Our own Eric Adish has done that. But I don't know if I'm brave enough for it yet because I am very much a physical. I want to touch my things. So very much a physical person where I look at it and it brings me joy just having it there. It doesn't need to do anything. It doesn't have to have a purpose. It just needs to bring joy by looking at it. And the more things I have on shelves that bring me joy, the more cluttered it looks. And it kind of goes against the whole going a little bit more minimalized. But anyway, getting back on topic here, I have actually enjoyed going through those things and cleaning up the physical space around me. Some other things that I'm doing is I've taken about 300 photos of items that I have yet to put on eBay to sell. And while I'm down here, being kind of quarantined-ish, again, I'm doing my annual tour down here. Instead of doing 2 weeks, I'm doing 3 weeks down here. So I'm actually going to be living out of a hotel for 3 weeks in Delaware. And there's no beaches that I'm going to be going to with COVID-19. I'm keeping the shopping to minimum. And most of my time here is going to be spent with no spend or very little spend. And very little going out and doing anything, other than getting food and, some essentials. And that's about it. So, yeah, I'm kind of self-quarantining in here while still doing my military service, on base and whatnot. But yeah, rude cars. Anyway. Yeah, I'm not really going out anywhere. I'm not really doing anything outside. And because this is already a cleaned room, what am I going to be doing? Because I'm essentially doing a mini quarantine within the quarantine. And one of those things is I'm going to sit down and I'm going to do some writing. I'm going to transcribe things into my Book of Shadows. I have my Book of Shadows. Did I put it? Oh, you can't see it right there. It's on the nightstand over there. I find that whenever I stay in hotels, especially for my military weekends and whatnot, I actually get the time to sit down and transcribe things into my Book of Shadows. And it becomes a beautiful time for me because I tend to write spells or different tidbits of information. I'm going through a Jewish prayer book, which I'm finding some really wonderful prayers in there that are traditionally Jewish, and I'm adapting them and working them into my practice in certain ways. Some of them I just might find the wording beautiful. Some of them might have a point to them of being either cleansing or there's some with regards to life and death that are comforting. Certain prayers like that or remembrances like that I find comforting. So I'm going to add those into my Book of Shadows. So anyway, what I end up doing is I end up transcribing these things onto notebooks all over the place or printing things out off the internet, and they never really end up in my Book of Shadows. So staying in a hotel, I get time to write in my Book of Shadows and spend time crafting in that way and putting pen to paper and really enjoying it rather than the quick, let me jot this down so it gets in there and that's it. This is actually the time whenever I can sit there and reflect on those words and what they're really meaning as I put them in there. Another thing that I'm going to be doing is I'm going to get a head start on making some videos and doing some things that I have been neglecting with my own personal channel and my own blog and whatnot. So keep tuned for that. I'm actually going to be working like 5-6 months in advance. So it's not stuff that you're going to see until the beginning of 2021. So look ahead for that. Other than that, I'm going to spend some time watching TV and, just relaxing and, going to bed on time, getting a full night's rest, and then doing things that I need to do at work. Getting that stuff done, doing listings for eBay, getting that stuff started up again that I've been neglecting for quite some time. And again, writing in my Book of Shadows, writing stories and whatnot, coming up with characters that are interesting, doing some tarot readings on characters that I haven't even thought of or developed yet, and maybe that'll help. So these are some things that I'm doing to kind of de-stress or, work in my cloistered environment, because being cloistered is not stressful for me, but I can see how it could be for some people. But anyway, I hope some of this helped. Again, keep busy, keep your mind occupied on something. I like to keep my mind on something productive. So it's like, let's think ahead for YouTube. Let's think ahead for the blog. Let's think ahead for, NaNoWriMo, creating those characters and whatnot, or, plotting out the book and whatnot that I want to write during NaNoWriMo. Writing in the Book of Shadows, stuff like that. Get a project for yourself. Doesn't have to be an expensive one. Can be something as simple as coming up with ideas and writing them down, or writing a story yourself or whatnot. Something easy and fun that you find enjoyable. It could be doing crafts. If you have a ton of yarn sitting around and you haven't done any crafts in a long time and you've been wanting to use up that yarn, now's your chance. What else are you going to be doing? If you have books on your bookshelf, ta-da, right there. And you haven't gotten around to read them, now's your chance. What else are you going to be doing? So, those types of things of keeping yourself occupied and keeping yourself sane. Keep in mind, you do have things like Amazon, you have things like eBay, you have, different ways of buying things that you would need if you wanted to start a craft or a project of some sort and you don't have those materials. You can still buy that stuff online. So do keep that in mind. But now I think I'm just rambling, so I'm going to stop talking, edit this down. I think we have a birthday coming up on the channel. Might be Cara, might be the channel itself. Happy birthday, Cara. Happy birthday, Pagan Perspective. And I don't know if we're on next week. We might be, might not be. I don't know. So anyway, if we're on next week, I'll see you next week. If we're not, I will see you in September. I think we're on next week, though. No promises. Until next time, may you have love, hugs, and ladybugs. Bye-bye.